Old school F1 fans haven't figured it out yet. That F1 is now one of the only sports where two completely different sets of fans can coexist in the same space. And F1 hasn't accomplished that by becoming something different. It's done it by turning back into something it already was. Because if you go back to the 1970s, Stewart, Hunt, Lauda, there was a certain sense of danger and a certain sex appeal. And people watched because the sport could capture their imagination beyond the actual racing. Now, being a fan in the late 90s and through the 2000s, this is actually something I became aware of. Because the consensus back then from the media and ex-pros seemed to be that Formula One had moved away from all of that. The more technical and corporate F1 became, the more cold and inaccessible it seemed to the casual viewer. So to become the best Formula One fan I could be, I felt obliged to learn the technical language, the detail, all just so I could enjoy it. But Liberty Media have opened a door to people not interested in any of that. And not by simplifying the sport because it's more technically complex than it's ever been, but by adding novelty through Miami and Vegas, inviting brands in that feel more cultural and less corporate, bringing the glamour back in a more manageable, Instagram-friendly form, and most importantly, rebuilding the narrative, putting drivers front and center. Yes, the 1970s allure was built on real danger and the stakes are no longer the same anymore. But what Liberty have actually rebuilt is the accessibility of that era, not necessarily the substance of it. And by doing so, it's won over a global audience that don't care about torque or suspension geometries, and most importantly, who don't need to understand it in order to enjoy the sport. And that's been reflected more than ever through the media coverage of Formula One. The race has always been an excellent publication, focusing heavily on the technical detail of the sport. But they've just launched a new lifestyle and cultural channel catered to a certain section of fans who don't want to read an in-depth article about aerodynamics. And it makes complete sense for them to do that, because F1 now has two fan bases coexisting side by side. One that can explain the difference between a push and a pull rod suspension system, and one that simply followed a driver here because of a Netflix series. Different entry points, but it's still the same sport.